It was reported last night that DeWanna Bonner had no intentions on returning to the Indiana Fever, and then the news broke today that the Indiana Fever had indeed.
What happens when a respected WNBA veteran decides she's bigger than the game? That's exactly what we're about to unravel. Dana Bonner, once praised as a steady leader and role model, didn't just walk away from the Indiana Fever. She triggered one of the most dramatic midseason exits in WNBA history.
She said, "I want to sincerely thank the Indiana Fever for the opportunity to be part of the Fever franchise. Despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out, and I appreciate the organization's willingness to grant my request to move on, particularly at this point in my career. I wish the Fever great success as they continue to build around this dynamic group."
Fans expected her to mentor rookie phenom Caitlin Clark. Instead, they watched in disbelief as she vanished from the roster and then from the league's respect entirely. But the real shock wasn't that she left, it was how it all fell apart afterward. What began as a quiet separation turned into an exposed power move, one that would leave Dana's legacy in pieces. And the fallout? Let's just say no one saw the full scope of this coming.
And look, I understand that's where she wants to go. Why didn't she go there in the summer? We know why, because she couldn't have got her max contract. And by the way, people are like, oh, they can give her the minimum. No, they can't. The Phoenix Mercury can give her a prorated $80,000 salary for the rest of the year. So she's only going to lose about 30K-ish. And she's going to lose about 40, 50K. Whereas they would have been only able to sign her earlier on. Well, they would only be able to sign her for nothing. Because again, we can't forget as well, the Phoenix Mercury cut Sevgi Uzun. The Phoenix Mercury have a bunch of players signed on hardships and a bunch of players that they can cut.
When the Indiana Fever released their statement, it sounded like just another business move. They claimed to have granted Dana Bonner's request to part ways, and Dana responded with a polished message thanking the organization for the opportunity. No tension, no controversy, just a simple goodbye. But for those who'd been watching closely, something felt off. Why now? Why mid-season? And why was the team leader, once vocal and visible, suddenly silent? There was no mention of injury, no media farewell, just disappearance. The cleaner the press release, the more suspicious fans became. And rightfully so, because behind the scenes, chaos was already brewing.
That makes DeWanna Bonner look really, really bad. It makes DB look really, really bad. And it's the fact that she has told all other teams, other than the Mercury, don't sign her.
League rules are simple. When a player is released, they hit waivers. Any team has 48 hours to pick them up. Dana Bonner, a three-time All-Star with playoff experience, should have been scooped up in minutes. After all, she was still being paid $200,000. Yet, the hours ticked by. No team claimed her, not even one. For someone with her resume, this wasn't just strange, it was historic. Teams were choosing to pass on a free, experienced player, and in professional sports, silence like that is never random. Something deeper was keeping teams away. Then came the leaks. Dana hadn't just left the Fever. She had reportedly tried to game the entire system. According to insiders, she reached out to teams across the league and told them not to claim her. Why? Because she only wanted to go to the Phoenix Mercury. This wasn't a peaceful retirement or a simple contract issue. This was an attempt to force a destination. It was a power play, bold and risky, something you might expect from a league MVP in her prime. But Dana wasn't in her prime, and this gamble would come back to bite her hard. Even the Mercury, Dana's desired landing spot, were hesitant. They had chemistry, momentum, and a locker room full of young, hungry players. Adding a veteran who had just walked away from a team mid-season? That was risky. Front office insiders whispered concerns. Could they trust her commitment? Would she fit in? Or would she bring disruption to a team on the rise? It turns out, even the team Dana was banking on wasn't sure she was worth the trouble. The power move that was supposed to land her safely was starting to collapse. The financial damage was immediate. By going unclaimed, Dana automatically forfeited the rest of her guaranteed $200,000 contract. When she eventually signed with Phoenix, it was for the veteran minimum, just about $80,000 for the remainder of the season. That's a $120,000 drop. voluntarily. It wasn't just a misstep, it was a self-inflicted wound. And it all happened because she tried to dictate terms in a league that wasn't willing to play along.
Sometimes pride doesn't pay. In this case, it cost a fortune.
Dana Bonner was supposed to be the calming force for a young Indiana roster. She wasn't just a scorer, she was the designated mentor, especially for Caitlin Clark, who was navigating one of the most intense rookie seasons in recent memory. Practices, press conferences, game plans, Clark was vocal about wanting to learn from Dana, but instead of providing support, Dana vanished. Mid-season, mid-drama, right when the pressure was at its highest. She didn't just exit, she left her team leaderless. Then fans started connecting the dots. Dana signed with Indiana just as Caitlin Mania took off. She enjoyed the spotlight, magazine covers, interviews, national TV games. But the moment Phoenix cleared enough cap space to sign someone like her, Dana was gone. Same week, same timing. It didn't look like coincidence. It looked calculated. Had Dana used the Fever as a platform, soaked up the benefits of Clark's star power, only to dip when her real destination was ready? Normally, when a veteran leaves under controversial circumstances, fellow players speak up. Teammates show support. Former colleagues post messages. But with Dana, nothing. No player tributes, no WNBA stars posting Instagram stories, no veteran backing her up. The silence wasn't just noticeable, it was loud. Across the league, it felt like Dana had broken an unspoken code. And her peers? They weren't defending it. The league took notice. If Dana could walk away mid-contract, tell teams not to claim her, and still get picked up anyway, what's stopping other players from doing the same? It threatened the integrity of the WNBA's player movement system. Small market teams like Indiana rely on contracts to build rosters. Without trust in those deals, how do you build anything long-term? Dana's exit wasn't just personal, it was systemic. The more fans dug, the more they uncovered rumors about locker room tensions. Some insiders even mentioned personal relationships and outside influences possibly steering Dana's decision. While unconfirmed, one thing was clear. This wasn't purely about on-court fit. Something else, beyond basketball, was pulling the strings. And the decision to leave became more than a contract move. It became personal for everyone involved. After Dana left, the team didn't just lose a player, they lost stability. Another player, Damaris Dantas, followed out the door. Coaching rotations had to change, lineups were thrown into chaos, the Fever were already struggling, and now they had to rebuild trust inside a fractured locker room. And for a team that had finally generated national buzz, the spotlight turned toxic. Indiana fans believed in Dana. They bought the jerseys, showed up at the arena, believed in the hype, and in return, they got silence. No goodbye, no farewell statement, just a disappearing act. It wasn't just poor optics, it felt like betrayal. And for a franchise trying to rebuild loyalty, Dana's exit hurt more than just the scoreboard. All season, Caitlin Clark has handled enormous pressure with professionalism. But this wasn't part of the rookie manual. Instead of focusing on her game, she had to answer media questions about someone else's decisions. She had to hold a team together when the veteran meant to support her was nowhere to be found. She stayed quiet publicly, but the weight was visible. Rumors about Dana's behind-the-scenes tactics weren't denied. They were simply acknowledged, quietly. GMs talked off the record, coaches shook their heads. But there were no fines, no suspensions, just a kind of unofficial message. We saw what you did, and we won't forget. That silence from leadership, it wasn't protection. It was exile. While Dana's leadership crumbled, someone else stepped up, Sophie Cunningham, a gritty, emotional player who wasn't afraid of the spotlight or the dirty work. She didn't come in with Dana's resume, but she brought something else: fire, commitment, unity. Fans started rallying behind her. Suddenly, the team had a new voice, and one who actually stayed. With Dana gone, Indiana moved quickly. They signed Ari McDonald. Natasha Howard and Sydney Colson stepped into leadership roles. Practices sped up, communication improved. And even if wins didn't come overnight, something else did: clarity. For the first time all season, the team's direction wasn't fogged up by uncertainty.
Dana's story isn't just a Fever headline, it's a league-wide lesson about loyalty, about ego, and about what happens when personal ambition overrides team values. The WNBA is growing fast, with more attention and money than ever before. But moves like Dana's threaten to stall that progress. Integrity matters. So does character. Dana Bonner will always have the stats, the accolades, the highlights. But now her name also carries an asterisk, not for scandal, but for selfishness. Her decision to abandon her team mid-season might follow her longer than any playoff run ever did. She didn't just leave a team, she left a legacy in question. For Caitlin, this chaos may turn out to be the ultimate test and the making of a champion. She was thrown into the fire, forced to lead earlier than anyone expected. But she didn't break. She didn't point fingers. She kept playing. And sometimes, it's in the hardest moments that true greatness is born. Her story isn't Dana's. It's just getting started. Dana Bonner thought she could write her own ending, that she could walk away, pick her destination, and keep her crown. But basketball has a way of humbling everyone. In trying to force her legacy, she might have erased it. And for the Indiana Fever, what looked like a disaster became a reset. Sometimes when a leader leaves, the team falls apart. But sometimes, it finds a new way to rise.